My name is Juan Martinez. I'm the Director of Development and Communications for Kindway. Kindway is a prison ministry that helps people relocate to Central Ohio when they come home. My title is long and it sounds fancy, but what I'll tell you is that I used to be known as 473-619. You see, for 15 years, I spent my time in Ohio prisons for a drug offense. And I had a lot of time to think about second chances. And what I'll tell you is that I spent a lot of that time asking God to change my circumstance. Give me a second chance with the circumstance. Turn things around. Maybe give me an early release. Restore my family. Restore my kids. Bring these people into my life. But what I had to learn was that God had a plan for those people too. And in reality, I have to be honest, I don't know that I was the right person to be returned to them in the condition that I was. I was a blasphemous agnostic when I came to prison. I wanted nothing to do with God, and I really wasn't thinking about what I needed to change on the inside. I had only turned to God in my life when I wanted Him to change the outside, and when the things on the outside wouldn't change, then I'd run from Him because I didn't think He was for me. Well, what I learned in those 15 years was that as I cried out to God to change the circumstances, God was saying, I've changed the circumstances before. As a matter of fact, you've had many second chances and third chances and fourth chances and fifth chances. And I would always mess them up. And if you're like me, then you know that the only thing worse than messing things up with people you love and good situations, the only thing worse than messing them up one time is that you mess them up a second time and a third time and a fourth time. So what God was telling me is, like, if I change you, then any situation you get into, you will handle it properly. And when I restore those things in you that you want so badly, then I can trust you to protect them. And that changed my whole outlook on second chances. The reality was that everywhere I was there. Every decision I made, I was there. The common denominator was that I was there. And obviously the thing that needed to change was me. And so I turned to God and I asked Him, I said, listen, what has to happen? I don't have the power, obviously. Well, He told me in Scripture, He says, come boldly to the throne of grace, where then you would get the help that you need. In prison, I learned that God was calling me to His throne to get the power that only He can give me, so that I can overcome those things that I had no power to overcome. My history is a life lesson, an example through my whole life of how I obviously didn't have the power to overcome those obstacles, those sinful things in my life where I would make bad decisions. But when He changes the heart, obedience is easy. So I don't know what things you want God to restore in your life. When I go to prison, I ask the inmates, I said, what do you want God to change in your life? 98% of the time, they're going to say, I want to go home. And I challenge them the way God challenged me. What if I answer that prayer tomorrow? What if you wake up tomorrow and they call your name, they say, pack it up and you're going home? Do you have the character to protect your freedom? Do you have the character that's going to protect the relationships God restores? Do you have the character to protect the employment that He gives us? And if we're honest, we're probably going to say no. But we're so caught up in wanting Him to change the externals that we keep putting the same person in those situations and we keep messing them up. So what has to change? What has to change is that we have to change. But there's hope. God made us in His image in creation, and in Jesus Christ, He's remaking us in His image. So the hope is that God desires to make us in His image, to correct us, to perfect us in this life, so that when He starts bringing these things back together in our lives that we want so badly, then we're going to have the character to protect it. And we're not going to throw it away this time. And we might even thrive in that new situation and be an example to others. I hope this brings you hope. It's what's happened in my life. And if it's possible for me, I know it's possible for you. God bless you.